just start it in a conversation.
No, it's
with
so
me and
bad,
you.
yeah.
You should have started it. Let's go back and just start it with you don't know how to start a podcast,
Okay,
and you
let's do another clap.
You just fade in. The classic slate.
So, Ian, how was your week?
Fantastic, Alex. Thanks for asking.
This is you and I have chatted on podcasts in one form or another a few times over the years.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
But this is the first. I hate to say the word formal.
Yeah.
But it's the kind of the most where we've got our head switched on because it's just you and I. We've known each other for 4 years or three and
I'd say
almost
4 years now.
Yeah, 4 years in on this marriage. But yeah, we've wanted to kind of work together, and we are going to work together on future films and stuff like that. So the creative connection is something I've wanted to do for a while because even though the previous iterations of podcasts I worked on were great and fun, the people I worked with are really, really interesting. I wanted to do something a little bit broader. Obviously, we've been, our last, so I think was it last 13 or 14 episodes are all interviews. And there's nothing like a little bit kind of smaller. Obviously, that sounds like a bad thing, but I want to just like enjoy the moment and for people to get to know you and I in a slightly different way. They know you from some of your work and you're drilling into people's heads and all sorts of things. So, and from your wrestling antics, shall we say. But this is the creative connection with myself, Alex Blackburn, and the ever-smiling Ian Rayburn. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. This is, this is great. And I mean, we've done a couple episodes so far, but this one, obviously I can't switch anything, but the quality should be pretty good because on sort of your queue, you have such an amazing technical setup, and this is something that always, even from our first, I met Alex online, so the reason we haven't worked together is because we have not met in person yet because of he lives in another continent, so there's
we've got the grave of the Titanic between us.
Exactly. But I was always taken by your technical setup because you're using cinema cameras as your main camera to film these episodes, and so this is the first time that I've done that, so it's exciting to sort of do these off the cuff style podcasts as well as the interview styles, which have gone fantastic, but also to as a filmmaker myself, I really appreciate quality and cinematics, if you will. I don't want to get like all like keywordy, but it's cool to also have something that looks really nice as well, as opposed to just on phones, which again, if you're listening to this on audio, none of this is going to matter to you at all. But if a lot of people watch video podcasts, and I think there's a lot of some of these video podcasts have, multiple $1 million studio setups for their interviews. They're incredible.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. Some of the setups and, budget, and I think content is king. Like one of my favorite podcasts, it was Your Mum's House. It's a big comedy thing.
Course.
Tom Segura.
I'm familiar.
They started off with a couple of mics, a webcam on a laptop, and obviously they've got, millions between them, but the setup scaled with what they were doing. So
it's cool to see the creators as they grow, YouTubers as well, and we've been around since the initial insertion of YouTube and podcast as well. I mean, the whole whoever you look at as really starting to kickstart podcasts, if it's Joe Rogan or if it's whomever. I remember listening to The Nerdist, way back.
Oh my God!
They had several different podcasts about movies and media and stuff like that, and then to see them grow. Some of these podcasts have been around for 10, 15 years now.
Much, and formats change, and and all of that. So we're kind of finding out. We're going through our teething issues at the moment. Like, technically, like if you look at the quality of my last webcam, you got this lens flare, and I think I said to Pierre off camera and to yourself that it looked like one of the pictures from The Omen where they got the line through the person that's going to die. So, and that was down to an ad blocker so I could watch stuff internationally with a VPN and all of that. Yeah. So anyway, And that's a bit of FU, bit of follow up. Thanks for doing this. And I know you and I are really good friends, and it's like, how did you find the last? Because obviously, for anyone that doesn't know and people tuning in for the first time, hello, please like and subscribe and all of that. That's great. And please leave us a review on Spotify and iTunes, or one of them, because it means a lot, algorithm and all of that. So if you can do that, that'd be great.
Thank you.
So obviously I kind of put some of the episodes from the Hellbound Horror Festival and the previous, not iteration, but the previous couple of steps of the Creative Connection together. So what did you make of, like, coming on board, so to speak, and joining in on this? Because it's something I've wanted to do, and it's a format, and it was just it's a tricky thing with producing regular content.
Totally,
and I'm not there
absolutely.
to just do it. I can't produce stuff every day because I've got full-time work. We're both very busy, so it's really difficult to constantly feed the machine. Yeah. It's like the is it the Venus flytrap or that monster in Little Shop of Horrors? Feed me, Seymour.
Feed me.
It's like that.
Feed me, exactly.
Feed me, Seymour.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is something I wanted to do, and because it's a bit broader. I think more people feel welcome. It's not just horror. You and I, like, addicted to horror.
Of course, it's always going to go there. Although I'm
yeah.
wearing a Ghostbusters T-shirt today, but it's I mean, and the nice thing about it is I think it just goes there organically because it's not specifically horror themed. But I mean, that is my entire life. I love the genre. I make and want to make bigger horror projects. I think about it. I listen to horror soundtracks. It's just a big part of my life. So, creatively, it's going to go there with a reference or something like that, which you, of course, can get. So, to answer your question, coming on board, I really enjoyed that.
That's like Kermit the Frog. That
Kermit's a little more like that, I think. I think that's a bit more. Yeah. Anyways, oh my god. I totally agree with you saying content is king, but it's tough to, that's the biggest thing I see with newer creatives or people who maybe do it a bit more as a hobby and less as a profession, is you have to be consistent. And so the nice thing about, you asking me to come a part of that, and I've been a fan and listened to the past episodes because you have a great interview style yourself, and you're very knowledgeable. You also have legitimate guests that perk my interest. It is tough when you're starting as a creative and making content. Nobody knows who you are or who you're talking about or why do I want to watch your movie? Who are you yet? You immediately had recognizable people. So I was like, oh shit, okay, this is great. Like, I want to listen to this. And then you're just so technically skilled with so many different aspects. I mean, you're a fantastic cinematographer and you're a fantastic director and editor. Like, you are a filmmaker through and through, but also the live streaming element of, what you can do in that capacity and doing sort of broadcast style stuff. You already had all this set up, audio switching and live view, I'm like,
Well, that's it. That'll develop as well. And that's something that, that's something that you and I we've taught each other a few.
Oh, buddy, I've had
over the last few
education weeks. In the last, and that's where you learn. And
that's been really fun.
Of course, and
I've passed that on, like the 5% Gaussian blur on text to make it
blend
closer to the actual video. And 2 people in my work, they're all doing it now. So
that's great. I mean, that's the thing. I have no ego to want to learn more, and you learn through me specifically. I just learn through experiences and people more so than I did in sort of an educational setting. So that really helped coming on, that you sort of had a grasp on everything. And, this is like, I jumped on this moving train already, as well as, you do get amazing guests. It's been a real
and it's fun, like
honor and privilege.
This is what I want everyone to know, that with having so much going on, and when we do spend, like I really value our time together, and I value time with my family, friends, and all of that. but it's even just like lying down on the couch with my dog. I value the time, because time is short in life. Yep. And what was I trying to say? It's important that not to, because I think I've probably got ADHD. I'm on the spectrum at some point down that line. I always think of that chalkboard from Back to the Future 2, on the where I'm on the spectrum on that line. So, and what I mean by that is, my point is that I always want to produce something decent, and I want it to look a certain way, feel a certain way, and be very authentic. And that's the reason that you and I are working together, because we want it to be as authentic as possible and have fun doing it. Because if it became a chore for either one of us, you just start flagging.
Absolutely. Well, especially before it is anything. I mean, it blows my mind when people, it's like they haven't even launched their YouTube channel, but just them ruminating about what they would want to do already is making them miserable. It's like, you haven't even launched the channel. You haven't even shot the content yet. I mean, you're thinking about it and they're, talking about what ad monetization. And it's like, you haven't even launched the channel yet. You haven't found your voice. I mean, it's if you can't love it, then there's especially the amount that we do it. We are not hobbyists. This is our job. We professionally is how we make our money as well. And some things are funner than others. But if you can't find the joy in it, then why are you? What are you doing? I'm too old now to feel bullied by others or myself into something that I don't want to do or I don't find joy in, right? And so this is so much fun, and so this is what the Creative Connection is. It's a way for Ian and I to connect with people we are interested in. The fact that we spoke to Pierre, Olivier Persen, hopefully Pierre, I've not ruined your name there. And hopefully, Coralie's listening to this, and we want to interview the director of The Substance as well, because we got the opportunity to. It's like the best way. I've just thought about this now. The best way to think about it, and we'll kind of move on in a little sec, is we pretty much had it felt like a commentary from the special effects makeup dude that worked on this Oscar-nominated, which hopefully it will be. I'm sure it will be. Perspective on the film. So when we watch the film again, we'll have this in our heads, even though people can listen to it. Yeah. We've had this interaction with someone so close to the material, so close to the work. And he's one of the reasons that the film works on so many levels. I mean, absolutely. It is. If you haven't seen it, see it. If you've seen it, then the special effects, make up a big component. It's a character in that movie. I mean, there's so many fantastic things about that movie, but but it's like we knew what to ask because we're just as fans, and he also wanted to talk, which is amazing. It was very much. It was very synchronicitous. Oh yeah, and he was whatever that was. I know. Everyone knows. If you understand what the hell Ian's saying, nod your head on the bus or wherever you're listening. Listening to this, if you're on the toilet, just squeeze a little bit harder. So that's where I listen. I either listen to podcasts just before bed, or on the loo and walking around the house, and I've got it on speakers. Yeah, so, I mean it's a whole thing. But it was a very it was a great connection. Pierre was people. Pierre was lovely, and Jeremy. Everybody, and else, everyone. But it was very. If you haven't listened to that episode particularly, and any of the past episodes, definitely go listen to it. But if we're talking just sort of the last one that we've done, which is the most recent, it's someone who's very smart, very talented, and very keen to want to, in a non-bragging, very humble and respectful way, talk about the incredibly hard work that they did, and I will, and all the the Terrifier movies, the Smile movies, Smile franchise. Exactly. Now I guess they announced the third one, and and The Substance. I mean, these are key components. Visual and practical effects are key components in all these movies, and so to get to talk to those 100%. People, especially at the maybe the early to mid in their long careers, also another fascinating aspect. Because just before we kind of move on, in terms of the step, Pierre's worked on
Game of Thrones. He's worked on World War Z. The Substance is not a spike in his career, but it's like it's going to put him in front of so many people. And I think he's a very modest guy, and I think that it's going to be crazy. I think his team's going to expand after this film as well. Especially, have a little listen to the previous episode of this show, and where he had to hand off some of the work to a couple of Oscar-winning Brits. That was a really interesting point. So before we move on to what we've been working on, I'm going to announce, I think I've already mentioned this to Ian, who our next guest is on. It's going to be for our interview, but we don't know when the episode's going to come out, but it's just like the guests work out because Ian and I can schedule it properly. And because when we speak to our South African friend, Garth de Bruno Austin, hello Garth, he's in Australia, he's from South Africa, I'm in the UK, Ian's in Canada, so we have to work out the best time for everyone. And obviously, we try and think about the guests first, and then what's practical for Ian, and then I try and work it out, and then we find kumbaya in the end. So our next guest is Dan Pinchbeck. Sorry, Dan, if I've butchered your surname. But he's the writer and creative director at the Chinese Room, which is a games development company in the UK, and they developed the game Still Wakes the Deep. That Ian and I have been playing together online. And we won't go too much into that, but check out Still Wakes the Deep. It's on Steam. I think it's on sale on Steam, and it's on PS4 and Xbox and everything. One of the best, most immersive, interactive games I've played in years. And it's super scary. Which we love.
The atmosphere they built, the voice acting is incredible. And it has a lot of great influences from a bunch of great horror movies that we love.
Absolutely.
And you can tell that those movies have influenced this game because they are just blanketed all over it, which is amazing. I look forward to talking to him because I'm sure he's as big a fan of all that stuff as we are, because the work shows for it. Yeah.
Ian, I'm really curious, what have you been working on? Because we're trying to schedule these episodes roughly every 2 weeks, maybe 2 to 3 weeks, depending on what we've got on, editing-wise and documentary editing-wise and music video-wise and all that. So what have you been working on for the last kind of week or so?
Well, I DOP'd a music video on Sunday for an artist. Wolfgang Webb is his name. And
That's a great name. That's a great name.
And he's got a great look. It was a great song. It was a lot of fun. I was very proud of the work that we did. And I'm not editing it, which is usually the case. I usually shoot and edit, so it's in a lot of ways it was great. And they had the the editor. I think he's one of the co-producers, but the editor and visual effects artist was there as well. So that was really great, actually, just talking with him. Before we did shots about, and I've never really done that before because for myself, most of the stuff that I'm working on, I'm editing it as well. So it's like there's just a language that I have with myself that I just know I can fix that in post. I can move this around. I can, I can do the tricks that I do and the skills that I have as a longtime editor to be able to fix that. So it was really interesting talking to him about it, and he got it too as well. So that was cool.
Yeah, because we shoot to edit.
Well, you have to, absolutely. And I mean, I direct to edit as well. That was really cool. And I'm finishing up editing a dramatic thriller short film that a friend of mine had reached out. We've been talking for maybe just under a year on and off, and finally got all the pieces together, and we shot it at the end of the summer. It'd probably be 20 minutes or so, but it's a pretty dark thriller-esque, of course. I'm sure that's what why she approached me to help her bring it to life. I'm just finishing the edit on that, and then a short horror film that I did with my always collaborator, Danielle LeBlanc, is in the festival circuit right now, and I haven't had him film in the festival in a while, and it's just a fun experience. And some of these festivals are really well done and very professional, and so there are a lot of people listening. If you don't know anything about film festivals, then that's a whole topic of conversation I'm not going to get into. But basically, there's the Oscars and the Golden Globes, and then there's everything else. There's the WWE, and then AEW, and then indie wrestling. There's big Hollywood blockbusters. There's low budget indie movies, and film festivals is like that. That doesn't mean that the smaller ones aren't great or anything like that. But some are just made better than others. You ran two very successful film festivals, which also really got me on board with you as a creative, because even though they were completely virtual, you really put the time in for the interviews, the research, the edited content, for us as the creators that were in the festival to watch. You really gave us a awards show and a expose show. So I really appreciated that. So we have a short called HATMAN about sleep paralysis, the sleep paralysis demon that I haven't experienced myself, but the writer and creator Danielle had experienced it. But this is like a global phenomenon. People have sleep paralysis.
And there's a trailer online for that?
Yeah.
He's here.
And then, being the end of the year, it is still my goal to create and produce a feature film. I've done a lot of shorts, and I will continue to do shorts. I love them, but also I really want to do a feature, and I've been close a couple of times. So, I have a bunch of shorts that I'm going to start executing in the new year as well. But yeah, there's a couple ideas that I've been slowly writing for like a genuine horror feature. Awesome. No budget, no to low budget. But in my style, in my voice, and 90 odd minutes, and not 5 to 20, depending on with a short. I really want to challenge myself.
And how long do you think that'll take you to shoot? If you had the script finished, how long do you think?
There's so many factors. It also depends what particular. But I think genuinely, if the prep is done, and when I mean done, as much as we can do, you can never be prepared enough. But if the prep is done, and scheduling can allow, is also the thing with lower budget, is it's hard. You sometimes have to work around people's schedules because they're doing it out of the love of it or for very no to low pay. So I think if it all had worked out, a month or under to shoot it, on if you have to be a weekend warrior, or if you're like, okay, we're doing 10 days. This short that we shot at the end of the summer that I'm editing now, I think there was one day off, but it was a 6-day shoot. And that was awesome. It's just, let's just get it done. I think that's another thing that sort of kills productivity for, low budget filmmakers, is they make things too big, and they neglect to look at the scope, and then it becomes too much of a hassle, and so they drop it, or they just sort of bad taste style, Peter Jackson style. It takes them two years to film the thing because they're shooting once a month on a weekend when somebody's available, or Evil Dead style, where they're just whenever they can get together. Luckily, both of those movies got finished and jump-started both of those incredible filmmakers' careers. But I've seen a lot of things that just went to the wayside as an actor when I was doing sort of student films earlier in my career. You know, not a lot of stuff just didn't get finished because people were like, this is too big of a scope. So
exactly, you need those people that are going to dedicate themselves, even if it is just the weekend warriors.
Absolutely.
It just has to work.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm doing a bunch of
hold on a
jobs,
second.
so to speak.
So Alex, can I ask, what are you working on right now?
I just finished. What can I say? What do I want to say? It's the whole thing. Obviously, you know, doing the guest invites and stuff, and we're working together behind the scenes for the podcast because there's so much legwork for something like this. But I'm really enjoying that and connecting with people, and I really like the idea of delving into. And I'll mention what I'm working on in just a sec. I really like the idea of delving into production and what it takes to get the village together. So we'll put our thinking caps on with contacting, speaking with producers in the future as well, because that's something that'll be a real insight for people.
Absolutely.
And we'll be making notes ourselves about that process as well. But I've been working on my documentary feature, Queering Blackpool. I work with Helen Eden, almost forgot her name then, sorry Helen. And we're at a stage now we're recording this on, I'm going to say the date, 11th of December. But in a couple of days, I'll have segmented using a bunch of tools like transcription within DaVinci Resolve. Premiere can do it as well, but Resolve's better. Not sponsored by Blackmagic. But through that, I'm segmenting and making separate clips of all the interviews, and there's 168 pages of transcription, and I'm almost at the point of ending that now. And you think, oh, you've been shooting that since March, but we finally got a contact with archive services. I won't say who the company is or who the individual is yet, but we've made a contact that has footage from the last 30 years, and the club's been there for 30 years.
Wild.
And so we've got a very, very close agreement with them. And the reason we're doing not getting all that footage now, we're gonna wait till the end of Friday and then contact them next week, is one of those things where I'm gonna rewatch all the content after I've segmented it all. It's breaking into pieces. That's a better way to describe it. Breaking it all to pieces and then rearranging the jigsaw. I'll know what I need to ask for when it comes to the archive footage, because he's got decades worth of footage. And if I took all his work, it's like that was what he dedicates his life to, archiving and a couple of other things. He's got over 150,000 followers for something else on YouTube, which we'll go into, and we might even have him on the show because archiving is huge.
Absolutely.
And we can talk about that in our own processes, because I'll show these on camera. Having little drives everywhere is a massive pain. And what's the solution to that? There's expensive solutions. But yeah, that's the stage that's at now. And then next week onwards, the posters are going to get printed. We're going to do a limited run of, I think, between 25 and 30 posters that Helen and I are going to sign.
Oh, wow.
And then see if people are interested. But, and just have them as keepsakes rather than, we're not trying to make any money because they're not cheap to print.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we're going to do that, and that's my next few days. There's a bunch of other things, like I've just finished this edit for Pixie Lott. She came to the university I'm at. She's a singer-songwriter. And with myself and a colleague called Jack Mason, we shot a little music video thing, impromptu thing. And she's super talented, and any UK listener will know who she is. So that's all done. And then there's a bunch of other things I'm working on, but they're too small to bother people about. Playing whack-a-mole or spinning plates. And as Vincenzo Natali talked about, the director of Cube, we're always constantly spinning plates. You've always got to find a new plate to spin. Otherwise, you'll go, oh, I've made this great film. It's won an award. What do I do next? So you don't sit on your laurels. You can't go, oh, this is successful. Where's everything else I need to do for life? It doesn't work that way. You always got to be making things.
Agreed.
So doing the short films is a great thing for you and I. We test things. We know what we're doing. We know what we like. So it's kind of about moving on.
Absolutely. No, that's a really great way to put it. And it is a testing ground. It's any style that people think that I have, or I think that I have, is literally because of trial and error and test mixed with my influences and interests. And then just, didn't like that, don't like that. this works. Oh, that is how you use that on my camera. Oh, fantastic! Then that will change. Everything is just a learning experience and a growth.
Whether it's a setting on your camera or something like that. We'll get into that in the future. How we teach each other very small things and embarrass each other.
I wasn't embarrassed at all by it. I truthfully, I
no, it's not. No, I've learned.
I think you were like, "What the fuck? This guy doesn't know how to use this." But
no, but it was funny. And it wasn't. If it was someone I didn't like or didn't respect, I'd be like, "Oh, fuck you." I'll probably bleep myself. But yeah, no. I think I'm just gonna go for a loo break, as we say here, and we'll move on to our final little segment. So just to tie up our first episode together of the Creative Connection. Thanks for the cost.
Oh, are we going again?
It's fine.
Oh, I thought you legit had to go to the loo. Oh, buddy, I thought we were on break, and I thought you were.
No, do you want to go to the loo?
I thought you legit were going to the bathroom.
That's staying in.
He said he was going to the loo. I thought, we get a little break here. I'm gonna.
So this won't get political because that's the most boring thing in the world to talk about. But I will say what my favourite film is, but we're going to talk about our favourite films of 2024, and that the only rule is there has to be five films, I would say. And we'll take it in turns. We'll mention one and then say what we liked and whether we've seen it. Maybe watch the trailer, which we can incorporate into the episode. And we'll talk about some honourable mentions and why we like them. And I never want to, rain on anyone's parade and, in terms of, I hate this, I hate that. There's too much hate. There's too much hate in life. There's too much hate online. So we're just going to talk about the positive things. It's not one of those things where we're all entering a race. We all get a blue badge. But it's like, I only really want to talk about what we like.
Participation award.
Exactly. So I'm definitely going to say, and I'm not going to push you to it, but I want you to potentially say what your favourite film of the year is. Now, the only rule is it has to have been released in either Canada or the UK in the year of 2024. So it can be something online, it can be something in the cinema, but I think mainly it's going to be a cinema film, possibly. So as long as...
so are we saying it in an order, or just, like, do you want to start with number one?
No, I'm going to... We'll start from the top, but we'll leave it to the very end, after the honourable mentions, what our favourite film of the year is.
I mean, I'll just say right off the bat...
So if you want to throw it out there, what's out of your five of your favourite films of 24? If you tell me one of those five, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. So, I mean, there's no rules really. You gave me a couple rules, so right off the bat, I'm breaking that rule. But I saw the film in 2024, and it came out December 28th of 2023. So a couple of days before.
Let me check the rule. Let me check the rule book.
I love that you have a little book.
This is my little hit list. Oh God, I'll show my.
I also want to say,
So I'll check the rule book, and you can do it.
Okay.
This time.
I do love movies so much, but I have found it was really interesting thinking about this. I really found in 2024 that I didn't watch a lot of non-genre movies, surprisingly. Usually I watch so much, definitely after Christmas, because now I'm watching some Christmas movies and still horror movies, and I want to try to do, when the Oscars announced, and try to do all the Oscar views, the ones that I haven't seen, etc., etc.
Yes, absolutely.
But I don't know, having like it's hard. I don't really have I can't say I have a favorite movie because it rotates so much. There's like Ghostbusters or Boogie Nights or Eternal Sunshine.
I'm gonna crack the whip. I'm gonna crack the little whip.
So I'm sure these will change. So these are by no means take these as like in some order, but. People that are listening to this, if you haven't seen any of these movies, they're all fantastic, regardless of the order that we put them in. So if something sounds interesting, I would say see it, because even the honorable mentions, I'm like, yeah, these are bangers, man. These are some bangers. So
what we should do is if you tell us any one of the 5, and then we'll take it in turns, and then we'll go from there. We'll do that.
Okay, yeah. So my number 5. There's no. Anyways, there's no order. There's no order. So the first one that I want to talk about, which came out allegedly December 28th, 2023, but to me that's close enough, is a French horror movie called Infested. It's a spider horror movie, which was incredible. I'm just going to get the specific director's name because
cool.
Yeah, it's from France. Vermines is the actual title, but it is an insane, and Sebastian Vanisiek, I'm probably destroying that name. He just got announced as the writer-director of the new Evil Dead Burn, the next Evil Dead movie that's coming out. It is an incredible movie. It's a spider. It's like Arachnophobia, you know. It's a spider horror movie in a high-rise complex. It looks great, acted great. Great scares. The spiders are really well done. The visual effects, the practical effects, and the real spiders they used blend very seamless. And I just had a real blast. I think there was another movie, Bite, or
it's the American one,
so they sort of were apart at the same. They were sort of out similar time.
Is it like that whole volcano and Dante's Peak thing?
Exactly, yeah. Or Armageddon and Deep Impact, and you have these. Yeah. And it was fine too. This was really great, and there is something about French films that, it's a real balls to the wall. I swear all the time, they don't give a fuck, and I love that. They go hard, and they're doing it for their love of the genre. So I really enjoyed it. It's on Shudder, I believe, as well. But the
and what was the title of that one again?
Infested is the English title, or Vermines, Vermanes is.
That's very cool.
I enjoyed it.
And what we'll do is we'll throw up the trailer for the video version.
Wish.
That looks really interesting. I love creature features and arachnophobia. Just to go on a spider thing before I tell you what one of my bullet points is, not numbered, is I woke up once and I was next to my current wife. My current wife, Jesus.
Good Lord.
Anyway, my only wife, Vic, if you're listening, she's my only wife. So I woke up choking, and she was like, "What? This sounds terrible. What are you choking on? What are you choking on?" And I spat out a spider that I was choking on.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of one of those scenes where they're putting the slippers on in Arachnophobia, or the hand in the popcorn. It's in the bottom of the popcorn bowl. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to watching. I've not seen that, so that's
it's great. I had a similar. I'm a pretty bad. Maybe asthmatic, and after having COVID, really made my asthma. It kicked it in like it did when I was younger, and so I have an inhaler that I take whenever I need it. And one day I was getting dressed and I was a little congested, and so I took my puffer and took a puff of it. And as asthmatics know, when you inhale your puffer, you, like a cigarette, you inhale in as it's coming. You don't, and then try to inhale it after it's in your mouth. So I did the puff and inhaled in, and immediately I started choking, and I coughed out a spider. It had gotten into the puffer and I guess when I sprayed it, sprayed it into the back of my throat, and I was inhaling in.
Is it in like that little gap in the where you put your mouth?
I think it was in beside. Like it didn't go in the actual little container of the aerosol container of the puffer. Wow. And I was like, and I'm not really grossed out by bugs or anything like that, but now I constantly look for that. I thought if this little devil can get into there,
that's amazing.
So I check every single time.
I was going to say rude joke.
Well, you're going to have to say it.
Absolutely, I wake up choking on other things now. Anyway, this is rated PG-13.
Great.
So my
Peggy 13.
One of my first films. I can't quite remember It's definitely 2024 when I watched it, and it's up for some big awards, and it's really heartwarming. And as I get older, and especially when I'm tired or exhausted or got a hangover the next day, I'm more emotionally available. And I've said this to Vic, and when I'm on a plane, because I hate flying, I'm like more susceptible to it. But this film almost broke me, and I've just got to hold it back a little bit. It's heartwarming, it's really lovely, and it's called Thelma. Have you seen Thelma? So Thelma, I'm going to read this. This is going to sound really robotic, but Thelma's about a 93-year-old Thelma called Post, and she gets duped by a phone scammer pretending to be her grandson. And she sets out on a treacherous quest across the city to reclaim what it takes reclaim what has been taken from her. And it's June Squibb.
Yeah, it's live action. Yeah. Oh, so
She's.
Awesome.
I'd be surprised. She's got to get Oscar nominated, and the word "got to get Oscar nominated" is going to get mentioned a few times in this episode.
Yeah.
But June Squibb, never heard of her before. I think she is actually 93.
She's got quite a resume as well.
I'm going to check that. But that's
nice, cool.
She was born in, and honestly, it's such a lovely movie. Yeah. I think it's Richard Roundtree's last film.
Wow!
It is one of those things like when Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and what's the thing with Paul Dano, and he's the brother. And the little daughter goes to do the little girl's pageant
Prisoners?
thing. No. In the yellow VW van with the family.
With Steve Carell, Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah. Oh, Little Miss Sunshine. Vicky loves that film.
Oh, it's great. Absolutely, yeah.
But, there's a little gem of feels like an independent film, but it probably has a big studio backing them. Thelma is one of those films that, thank God this film got made, because films like this, I'm so surprised get made. It's really, obviously there's a certain audience for this, but I think the perceived certain audience for this, it should be everyone, because it's a great story about getting older, the perception of old people. When you see an old person walking past you, you might just ignore them. Me, as I get older, I wonder what they've gone through in life and the struggles they got and how difficult it is. Like, I think about my own parents who are like my dad's mid-80s now. My dad's got no excuse. Ridley Scott's still making feature films, and my dad's got no excuse.
He is.
And my mum's obviously slightly younger, and I don't know why I said obviously. No one knows it. But yeah, it makes you think about these things, but the performance, the script, the cast. Yeah. Because you've got Richard Roundtree, you've got Malcolm McDowell.
Oh, great.
And my dad got Roddy McDowell and Malcolm McDowell mixed up earlier. Clark Gregg and a bunch of other people. And it's so heartwarming. It just makes you feel good. And it's so solid. It's such a solid film. And it's one of those things that when I watch this going, I'd love to have made that. It's the cinematography's on point. And I noticed there's something, when there's, I don't know what the price bracket, these kind of $10 to $20 million or slightly under. Something they 99% get right and they think about is the cinematography.
Yeah, they have to.
I think the cinematography, like Longlegs probably had a much bigger budget, but Osgood Perkins, great director, but the cinematography is really, really good.
So rich.
And Thelma, even though it's like this thing where she gets this really posh scooter, and the way they shoot the wheels moving like an episode of The A-Team is so funny, because it connects with everyone. It connects with the parents. It connects with the grandkids, and about being scammed and what can I actually do? Because there's a perception that when someone gets scammed, they won't do anything about it. They'll just
oftentimes that's the
creep
truth.
into their own house and draw the curtains. So Thelma's one of my first picks of my favourite films of the year. And as I'm looking at the trailer going through a loop on IMDb, I just want to watch it again. It's so good. So my parents watched it with Vicky today, and my mum was crying as
there
well,
you go.
so.
Oh, that's nice. I mean, there's obviously, like I just watch a lot of horror movies, but that doesn't mean I don't like movies like that. I love movies like that.
No, I know. Yeah, absolutely.
And we need that. I think there is a big audience for that. It's just there's so much content. It's hard to see who sees what. And
yeah.
When she sets her mind to something, there's no stopping her. She doesn't eat. She doesn't sleep. She just keeps that laser focus until the task is done.
I'm Thelma. Thelma Post. You might recognize me. Oh. From the telephone. I got scammed. I'm gonna get it back. I need a ride.
She's a little faster than you would hope.
Bell! Son of a bitch.
What's your plan for the day?
The usual.
What?
Oh my God.
We are crazy.
What?
I didn't say anything.
so another one that I have is not by any means the best made movie at all, but I think it's very entertaining and it's very well done. But I think I personally need to include it because of what it means to me as a creator, and the whole process has brought me a lot of inspiration. So I'm going to say Terrifier 3.
Yep.
Again, it is a very maniacal, grisly horror movie with practical and visual effects, a lot of gore. But I mean, from the little movie that could, from the short films to the feature to the sequel to now the biggest budget $2 million third one. This is a full franchise. I mean,
that's the catering budget of other films.
It is continuing to break records as the highest grossing independent unrated film. It is not a studio that's backing this movie. And the fact that a horror movie with a killer clown that does completely unimaginable things that they show you in full beautiful FX glory is not only breaking boundaries but and making money. It just shows the power of the genre. It shows the power of the franchise killer. I would absolutely put Art the Clown in the same category as, a Michael Myers, a Jason.
I would say pretty much notch another face on Mount Rushmore of the
absolutely, and it just, is it the best movie? No. I mean, but it for what it's bringing, it's the closest movie and franchise to something that is just a few steps away from what I or we are doing, self-funding, crowdfunding projects, depending on audiences. And that's what that whole franchise has, is the audience and the fans of the genre coming together to build this little movie that could. And it did. I mean, again, $2 million budget. I think it crossed over $80 million.
It's just over 89.
Jeez, that's crazy. That's so insane on a $2 million budget in this movie. That's just an incredible feat. And so for that, we also did a great podcast episode with Josh Petrino, who is the visual effects supervisor. On the Terrifier 2 and 3. And a fantastic episode. Another awesome guy who's a huge fan of the genre, who's very open to want to chat and answer all our nerdy questions.
Yeah, he's great.
But I mean, this is not a $200 million. This is not a $10 to $20 million movie like you just referenced. This is a $2 million movie that the people that are coming together are doing it because they love it, working with the people that love it, and making stuff for the fans and knowing the audience. And so for that long monologue is why I put that on my list as well.
We've both seen that, which is fantastic, and hopefully you'll be speaking to the director soon. So Damien, please,
I would love it.
Please check all your emails.
Absolutely.
So my, I'm going to jump about here because we're not doing these in order. We'll say our 5, but then later on, after the honourable mentions, we'll pick our, our favourite. And so my second one, let me just bring this up. This is kind of a little bit under the radar, but there was a lot of work involved in this. It was produced by Jordan Peele, and it's directed and written by Dev Patel. It's called Monkey Man.
Yep.
Monkey Man. And the reason I'm gonna set this up a little bit, so I'll read out what it's about. It's about an anonymous young man unleashes a campaign of vengeance against the corrupt leaders who murdered his mother and continue to systematically victimize the poor and the powerless. Okay, when you see where this film's set in India, and the poverty, the levels of poor, the levels of rich, and everything in between, you think, oh, if this is made by an American producer like Jordan Peele, what does he know about that kind of culture? I know a little bit because my wife is a Windian. She's a Welsh Indian. Her parents are from India. And this film is set in India, and Dev Patel, it's performance of a career. Obviously, he was fantastic in Slumdog Millionaire and lots of other things. But Monkey Man is it's a fantastic. It's really, as I can think about it now, it gets higher up in my list. Culturally, there's so much to this film. It's almost like one of those. You can almost smell it. You can almost smell it. The production, there's one aspect of kind of Indian culture. This applies to North India, which I know a little bit more about, where trans people or transvestite people are culturally more in the kind of zeitgeist in India for so many years, more so than in the West. And when you see some of these characters in the film, and you think, oh, that it's just culturally, it just says so much about the people, the tolerances of those people, the intolerances as well. But then some of the set pieces and the action in this, how's he directed this?
Yeah.
And like, obviously he's had huge experiences on other films with Danny Boyle and all sorts of other people. But it's mind-blowing. It's one of the best action films of the year. And there's a fight scene with these... I don't want to get this wrong because I don't want to offend anyone, but I think they're transsexuals, but it's like a team of them. And they're in these spinning dresses. And there's a fight scene in it in the middle of the film. Towards the end of the film, sorry. And I'm doing my Trump hands again on camera. Sorry, everyone. Don't offend you anymore. If that offends you, of course. But there's this action scene with those people, and oh my god, it really kicks ass. It feels very John Wick, and I love the way it's lit. John Wick's more of a dance. This is more of an aggressive dance, and I actually prefer the way this is shot because there's a little bit more of less, not predictability, but I prefer the way this is shot. And if you see John Wick and you see this, you'll see what I mean in terms of the way the kind of bit more. It's a bit more Jason Bourne, this for me.
I see. Cool.
And I kind of like that a lot. But yeah, Monkey Man, Dev Patel. It's fantastic. I bought the Blu-ray. I've not watched. It's one of those like I want to savor it for the next session and crank up the sound, crank up the new amp, and experience it again. So that is Monkey Man.
Great. Yep, I watched it off of your recommendation as well. Probably right after actually, and
it was fun,
super
right?
fun. Yeah, very very fun movie.
Monkey Man is
Primal. Intense.
It is very brutal.
Let's boogie.
1, 2, 3.
It's beautiful.
Festive.
the action is just insane.
It's a high octane.
Fun ride. And it absolutely explodes.
That's the way to do it.
My next, which one do I want to say? I will say, I think everybody has seen this, so I don't really have to talk too much about it, but our good old Dune Part 2.
Yeah, that's on my list.
Of course it is.
Well, I'll tell you what, instead of both of us talking about the same film, you will kind of go back and forth.
Well, I mean,
it's...
one. You know, with Denis, what is there to say? He's just an incredible filmmaker.
Yeah.
I very stupidly did not see the first one in theater. I couldn't tell you why.
Yeah, if you were next to me, I'd do this.
It's okay. On my backside though, right?
Perfect, yeah.
Perfect.
You're naked.
Okay,
ass,
perfect.
Yeah.
Right. You'd definitely be waking up choking then, that's for sure.
Yeah. Go back.
So I definitely saw this in theater opening weekend. I actually saw it twice. I saw it once in 70mm, which is incredible, cool. And then I saw it again in IMAX. You know, he's shooting movies for IMAX. You know, you want to see that as well. I just really enjoyed it. He's just a visionary. The acting, the actors, the fights, the camera work, the score.
It's a technical marvel. It's a technical.
Yeah.
It's not even just that. You've got, and you can say this about Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer's last year, wasn't it?
Yep.
But you can say the same thing about Oppenheimer, where you've got the biggest canvas imaginable, but then when you've got a close-up, there's nothing better than a close-up for me. And when you've got Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet and a lot of other wonderful actors, and I'll go into my favourite moment in a sec, but it's shot on, obviously, the highest-end cameras, but then you've got rehoused Soviet lenses that are shooting the film, and, you know, from lenses that come from Ukraine, and everything about it. And obviously, the story's paramount, you know, story's king. And it comes from a monstrous series of books, and it's visually, story-wise, everything. It's what Kathleen Kennedy wishes Star Wars could be. Honestly, there's no disparaging remarks. It's just, it's a Marvel, and you know, Denis been tapped for directing Star Wars, but I don't think he's going anywhere near that anytime soon. I don't think he's going anywhere near it, because the level of control he must have,
absolutely,
on that, and it is everyone, for that to work so well. Everyone's got the same vision, and it's a marvel.
What is your?
Have you got any kind of favorite? Because it's one of our joint kind of favorites. Have you got any kind of favorite moments from the film?
I mean, there's the fight scene with Austin Butler is
the one that was shot in infrared. Yeah.
Well, I think both sequences really, but they're just the scope of the worms, which I just love to have, you know, that where it just looked great, and as it should, you know. What's it? Javier, you know.
Javier Bardem,
he's awesome.
This is the closest. Like, I'm not sure what I believe really as I get older. I'm not sure in terms of religion or whatever, but I almost believed the religion he was into.
Absolutely.
In the film, because what he sees in Timothée Chalamet's character, and the way his eyes are pulsing, and just like I can't remember what he shouts, and he holds the knife up and all of that. And Bardem just reacts. It's like, oh my God, I've just seen God, effectively. And it's just, oh my God, the fact that you've got that performance, and then you turn the camera around, you've got these giant sandworms towards the end. That's how you do action.
Agreed.
And the most important thing of that is the sense of scale compared to a human. When you see those silhouette photos in a dinosaur book, and you've got a human being, and then you got and you get a real sense of scale. So the sense of scale in this film, it gets missed a lot in these giant movies. But in this film, even though the palette's so interesting, because you've got like all sorts of things, and the sense of scale is monumental. And Stellan Skarsgård, what a genius performance.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, we can do a whole episode on the production. If we ever get the opportunity to speak to anyone from the production of Dune, that would be incredible. Because I know during COVID on the first one, the editor edited most of the film in his house, which is insane to me. Insane. So yeah, it's Dune Part 2. I totally agree with you on that one. My second to last one is Love Lies Bleeding. Now, did you manage to see that?
Yeah, it's on my honorable mention, and it's like this far away from being I sort of have an ignorant list, because one of the movies that I have on my top films of the year I actually have not seen yet. You're what?
Yeah.
But I had a really great conversation with
Is that your second rule break now?
Oh, buddy, yeah, of course, I guess it is. But I thought, I had a really great conversation with a friend of mine about this movie, and I hadn't seen it yet, and we talk movies. I'd actually love to have him on as well to talk about movies. You guys would really, he's a fantastic writer, and he's a podcaster,
awesome.
Big podcaster for many, many years himself. And we basically he just broke it down to me and answered the questions that I asked, and just really told me the things that I knew I wanted to see and love. And I'm a fan of the director's other films, big fan. And so
Rose Glass is
so I'm talking about something completely different. So because of that, I put Love Lies Bleeding. That's okay. I put Love Lies Bleeding in the honorable mention, but it's like I could put fuck it. I'll just put it in my top of the year because I've actually seen it, and the other movie is in the honorable mention because I haven't seen it yet, but I know that I will love it because...
so you got something that's trying to sneak in.
Yeah, sort of. So I loved it. Rose Glass, Saint Maud, right? Was the first one? Yeah, I mean, she's
that's right, yeah.
a marvel, very visual.
Tonally,
dude,
amazing. And I'd love to have Rose Glass on
oh my goodness,
well.
And her, DOP, the cinematography, the color, the lighting, I did a lot of
the grain, oh my god, the grain. Before we kind of go into little details on it, the little, if you've not seen Love Lies Bleeding, it's directed by Rose Glass, Kristen Stewart, Dave Franco, not the other dodgy one, Ed Harris, and Katie O'Brien. So standout performance of Katie O'Brien. The film's about a reclusive gym manager, Lou, who falls hard for Jackie, an ambitious bodybuilder headed through town to Vegas in pursuit of a dream, but their love ignites violence, pulling them deeper into the web of Lou's criminal family, which is headed up by the amazing Ed Harris. And one of the reasons this would be an interesting point to talk about. One of the reasons I went to see this was because A24. A24 is one of the best. Is it what production houses or distributors?
Yeah. Well, I think now they're getting into production if they aren't already, but distribution, for sure.
A24 have nailed it. Anyone from A24 that wants to talk to us, I'd love to do that. The films they're distributing and marketing, the marketing is
it's brilliant,
so good because they're not ruining the films. So many big films ruin, and this could be ruined. And the great thing about Rose Glass's films, and especially Love Lies Bleeding, is the dynamic about a female couple, and it doesn't come. It comes across from story first, and these are the great characters, and it's not a point of view that Ian and I necessarily know about, and we've got friends that all kinds of sexual orientations, but this film is about two strong female leads and their love, and this is one of the best versions of that I've seen on film, and the way it looks, the performances. Katie O'Brien, she's in the new. I think she got cast in the Dead Reckoning Part 2 because of this film. And she's got a tiny role in Twisters, sequel to Twister, and it's like a blink and you miss a part. But in this, she just
stand out.
She absolutely owns it,
and she was a bodybuilder, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
She had that as well. I mean, I did a lot of sort of gym cinematography throughout my career. I don't as much anymore, and shot a lot of competitions. Did a lot of like hype videos for bodybuilders, and as a wrestler, I used to be in a lot of locker rooms where steroids was very rampant, and it was just, the way she tackled the gym culture, steroid usage.
Steroids, exactly.
It was massive. Really well done. And
I've never seen a steroid, the way that kind of idea in a film from a female point of view before.
Oh, well, it's just brilliant. That the scene when they're, she's helping her do the steroids, and it's just it's a beautiful moment in the, it's a very genuine moment in these very heightened situations. And then of course it's like, again, balls to the wall. It's bad fucking ass, man. That ending, good grief. The violence, it does not hold back. And
and Rose Glass she
goes for it.
Like there's let me think. There's two female directors in my list because that'll give a hint of what my final film is. That are just absolutely smashing it at the moment. Absolutely smashing it, and it's not just Catherine Bigelow. It's not just Verna Fields, who's a monumental editor. There's great female talent in front of camera, but also behind the camera. Like the editor, Anne Coates, she was the editor, and you might not even know who she is. She was the editor of Lawrence of Arabia.
Oh wow!
So you've got to put respect on not the talent and just because they're a certain gender, but the films they're producing, the films they're making, what they're doing in front of camera, stories they're telling. This isn't a story that necessarily I'd relate to, but I was so invested. This was like, as soon as I watched this, I'm going, oh my God, I have to tell Ian, I have to tell everyone. My wife and I watched this, and I was like so excited to talk. The sign of a great film for me is being excited to talk to someone else about it.
Agreed. Yeah, I think, again, I'm pretty sure you recommended this to me as well. I've just been very overly complicating my brain with nonsense stuff and missing out. And so I think, you also recommended this to me. But I was a big fan of her first film. And so...
Yeah, St. Maud's great. And I watched that based on you telling me about it.
There you
this
go.
Is the first Rose Glass film I saw, yeah.
The excitement in the air is palpable. The atmosphere is electric. A celebration of history in the making.
What is this place? You're looking pretty good in there. There's some pretty serious lines going. Yeah?
Why don't you want me working for your dad?
Well, he's a psycho. Saw that big girl.
That you two are maybe together.
Do you like guns?
I prefer to know my own strength.
That's not what I'm paying you for.
If you touch her, I'm gonna tell them everything you ever did.
Are you threatening me?
We gotta get out of here.
Let's just keep driving.
love you, you idiot.
You'll regret this.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, fuck.
So I think to move into our final pick, which is the same movie, I'll go in and say, for me personally, it was her first film that I saw that I said, oh, okay, this is fucking awesome. I will watch any movie that this person does from now on. And that was the 2016's Revenge. I saw it Midnight Madness at the Toronto National Film Festival at TIFF. I saw it on a lark. It incredibly blew me away. I had no context. It was sort of billed as a rape revenge film in that subcategory of movies. That's crazy that there's enough of them that they have a category.
Yeah,
but
it's crazy. Yeah,
that it is a trope, and she tackled it, and it was incredible. She's also French, and as I said before, they really make visceral movies, which I have always loved since sort of the early 2000s when I started to realize about, like Alexandra Aja and, High Tension and Inside and Frontiers and Martyrs. And you're like, oh, these are insane movies. And so that's what I was coming into this movie with, a lot of hype, and it absolutely did not disappoint. What about yourself? How did you hear about it?
What's the name?
I just wanted to say, how did you hear about it before we?
We'll name it in just a sec. I heard about it from, I think it was a trailer about 4 weeks out from being coming out, and I thought I like the lead actress. I'd gone through a glut of watching 80s movies because she's an icon. She's definitely an icon, the lead, and it looked very interesting. And I go through phases of horror, body horror, but the particular lead actress in the film, I'd gone through watching a load of stuff from the 80s because she's a real, true 80s icon, and she's still an icon now and a great actress. And it led to the film, and I thought, this looks interesting.
Crazy.
Let's give it a shot.
That's cool.
I've not seen her a film for years, so she's produced loads of stuff, but let's check this out. This looks interesting, and I'm so glad this film wasn't spoiled for me.
Yeah.
And we interviewed someone that worked on it who's I'm going to say he should. There should be Oscar nominations for this film, and the director, Coralie Fargeat, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Sorry, Coralie. We want her on the. Hopefully, I'll practice your name before you come on the podcast next year. We've not had a promise or anything, but we really want her on the film, on the podcast. And the film is called The Substance.
The award's darling, The Substance. Yeah.
It should, like Del Toro was talking about her and how important the film is, and from design, performance, script, from a female point of view about the ridiculous standards in beauty,
Hollywood,
and
aging.
This is how you should look. This is how you should be. This is the only way you're going to have a career past 40. It delves into so many of these things that aren't. There is a very female story, centric story, and that's so. It's not. It's universal because it's brilliant filmmaking.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's why Love Lies Bleeding connected with me so much, because it's so well made.
Yeah.
And the story's so interesting, and the way it's executed, and it has this beautiful arc. It has this beautiful kind of Phantom of the Opera meets Hunchback of Notre Dame meets The Fly and so many other films, and it ramps up, and then he goes, vroom, it just spikes. It spikes in crazy.
And I said to Pierre in our podcast episode with him, and I'll say it now, it's such a treat for the extreme film fanatic in me that this incredible awards nom. It's like Terrifier. It's like, how did movies that are that violent get the stage to be so mainstream. Like, I love that the landscape is changing, and the substance, it is a fantastic movie. And then the amount of body horror and effects and gore and over-the-top violence, it's not really that violence, but the over-the-top spectacle of it just titillated me so much. It was like, this movie is incredible, and it says a lot about, and I'm a guy, I'm not a female, so I do not speak from that perspective, but I've had some great conversations with females who I've shown the movie to and listened to their perspective on it, but working in the industry and, and the entertainment industry is not a nice industry, and, this often male, chauvinistic, male-dominated, world, and yes, the standards put on women for aging and beauty and Hollywood in general, it's terrible and terrifying. And so being able to track that, what would you do to stay relevant, to stay young and beautiful, even how they build the opening of the movie and how they build, the world of Elizabeth Sparkle before there's no dialogue.
The openings,
but we already understand.
The opening shot.
Yeah.
Are we talking about the shot of the?
Absolutely.
God.
The whole
It's
opening
so
sequence.
good.
There's no dialogue, and it's been a.
And in terms of there's so many, and we'll probably talk about the substance, and it'd be great to get a female point of view when we talk about just this one film, because we want to dedicate an episode just to this, because obviously with Pierre and his Oscar standard work, this is iconic work across the board from. The writing, everything. There's so many things in this film, from costume design, because everything's become iconic in this film. The marketing is unreal. That yellow jacket, no matter where they get it from, it's going to be sold out everywhere. And like the Halloween costumes from the film, and the eating seafood scene, and with Dennis Quaid. And because Ray Liotta was supposed to do in this film.
She also has a great scene in Revenge too, where a character's like this large sort of disgusting guy is eating a chocolate bar, and it's the same. Like that's a trademark of hers, which is
that's cool.
So when I saw that scene, I was like, oh, that's awesome. That's like one of your things. I love that.
And the reason the effects work so well, and this is one of the things that Pierre didn't know about until I think it was on set, was being able to do this level of effects in such bright light is worth the weight in gold. It really is.
It's
because you're not supposed to see these. You're not supposed to see these things in so much light. You're supposed to be in light and shadow.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Sorts, so.
Yeah. The movie, and again, as I said, the fact that a movie that has this level of body horror, this is not like an underground independent horror movie that, just a genre like. This is a mainstream movie that people that would never watch, Society or The Fly, even, Cronenberg in general, no thank you, I don't like horror movies, are watching The Substance. And, being surprised or shocked at where it goes. But it's getting out there to such a massive audience, and I'm so, happy and proud of that, and proud of everyone involved, and it's just an incredible movie.
I've never, and I know exactly how you feel. Like, same to a certain degree, Love Lies Bleeding that way, but with this film, I was really happy. I was so happy leaving the film and wanting to tell other people. And that was, like I said before, a great sign of a great movie is wanting to tell other people about it as soon as you leave the cinema.
Exactly. Yes.
And with this, I was so happy it had been made. It was really weird to say. It's kind of a strange thing to say, but I was so happy watching this. And like, there's, I'll call it a mic drop at the end. There's a mic drop moment, but it's not a mic; it's something else. And
you love it.
I was just in tears. I was in tears with laughter because it's
insane, man.
And then the final moments, it's everything.
The tour de force film, yeah, absolutely.
My favorite moment is about 2/3 into it. There's so many good things. 2/3 into it, where someone is changed and they're still wearing that yellow jacket and going with the sunglasses on, and going in the sunshine, and it's like, yeah, this is genius.
So
this is genius.
People should see that movie.
Have you ever dreamt of a better version of yourself? Younger, more beautiful, more perfect.
Pretty girls should always smile.
Originally, this was going to be a half-an-hour episode, but it's almost 3 times that now. But I'm gonna go through mine, and then I'll tell you just a couple of points about each. So my honourable mentions are Kneecap, which is
I just heard about this
film about an Irish band, and it's terrific. Go and see it. It is really fresh, very, very Irish. When you see it, and about the Irish language, so many people will not know anything about the fact that they've got their own language. I wouldn't say it's important, but culturally, really, like Monkey Man, culturally this is steeped in Ireland. So great film. Dear Santa, this is a Paramount Plus original.
The Jack Black movie,
where so there's a we watched because it's a Christmas film. It's not the greatest film, but it's got some top A-level cameos that are very. It's a Farrelly Brothers film.
Okay, I should watch it.
Saying,
yeah,
you know
you're right.
what they've made. So any of the biggest stars you've seen in Farrelly films
Copy
are
that.
in this for different periods. So it's about a dyslexic kid whose parents kind of neglect him, and he's like how I perceive myself in the past. And because he's dyslexia, he, instead of writing to Santa on his envelope, he writes to Satan, and the letter goes to Satan, and Satan's played by Jack Black, who appears to the kid and grants him 3 wishes, and then he pretends to be Santa and everything as well. It's quite funny. It is darker than you expect, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I needed relief because I can't remember what was going on before it, but I needed it, and it was great. Anyway, too much detail about that. Terrifier 3, obviously, because it's a Marvel. Smile 2, which is so much fun. Naomi Scott. I'd be kind of disappointed if she's not nominated for at least a gloss of awards because she's so good in it. But her career is going to be going on for another 20, 30 years at least. And the last couple of ones is Trap. That's M. Night Shyamalan's latest film. The reason I mention that it's very, is it Nepo Baby? Is that the right term? When you put your own kids into the film and there's lead singers in it, and it's about trapping this serial killer. But the reason I mention it is because the sound design in the film. It sounds like when you're in the cinema or you're watching on 5.1 at home, it sounds like you're there.
That's cool.
It's really it's very cool.
That's difficult to have done. Because oftentimes big movies like that aren't mixed that well. I also will just shout out that they shot most of, if not all, that movie in my hometown. And a lot of the local stunt community performers that I know did stunts on that project. I know they were very happy.
Yeah, there's lots of work in there for them. So that's my honourable mentions, and there's I'm not going to say what my least favourite is because that's very polarising.
Cool. Okay. I will quickly.
That's for different episodes. Right? Yeah, you tell me what
I will quickly blast through.
When I'm drunk, I'll record an episode on my own and slate some people.
No. You know, it's making movies. It's so hard. It's just there's so many things to go in there. It's just like to make the movie is an anomaly if it gets made, you know, and then to make something that is so good, it's like this double struck lightning, you know. So I do, and as a filmmaker myself, you know, I've made some good stuff, and I've made some just utter fucking shit. Especially
when people put their own money into it.
Well, of course. So my honorable mentions, and I'll go through them fairly quick. Late Night with the Devil, which I
Oh, really enjoyed that.
Really enjoyed it. It's a horror movie about a 70s talk show host who has a girl on who claims to be inhabited by the devil, and they want to contact them live on the show. So it's sort of half shot studio broadcast style, half documentary-esque.
I'd recommend it.
What is it, David?
It's almost found footage,
Dash
but
to
it's
Machine.
not. He runs a podcast when you're
in the
lying
coffin. Big horror fan. He's an incredible actor. You've seen him in stuff. If the name doesn't recommend it, I really recommend it.
Everything.
Liked it.
He's in everything.
Long Legs. Really enjoyed.
Awesome.
Oz Perkins. It's Anthony Perkins' son. Nicolas Cage, and just another incredible and wild role. And I mean, it was I will say I slightly got bought into the media hype that had great marketing, but I bought into that. So when I went and saw it, I was expecting something that was more viscerally scary than what the actual movie was. I really enjoyed the movie, but I akin to it a bit more of like a Seven style, of David Fincher style, of a thriller than more than this like terrifying horror movie. But you also can't. I think Oz Perkins said, he can't control. You're not controlling the marketing of your movie when it's someone else's money that's being put in. That's sometimes how it is.
It's beautifully shot.
Oh, incredible. Deadpool Wolverine. Fun as heck. I don't think I need to say too much about it.
I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't going on my list because it was like, I really enjoy bombastic stuff, and Ryan Reynolds is great. Hugh is a legend, and it was just like, it was what I expected. It was fun. I had laughs. I enjoyed it, but it was,
Yep, made $1 billion. The cameos were great.
What do I know?
Action's great. No, absolutely not. No, I mean it's not Marvel or Fox's. Fox? I lose track of.
It was Fox.
It's not the best superhero movie, but it was a lot of fun, and I think that's what they were out to make.
It's so well made. It's so well executed.
So that's on there. Alien Romulus I have on there. A lot of fun.
Oh my god!
A great. I love the Alien franchise. I love Fede Alvarez as the director, and it was just a great mix. The movie, it was awesome fun, and I look forward to if they do more with him. I hope so. A Saturday Night, I really enjoyed.
I want to see that. I want to see that.
It's the Saturday Night Live sort of. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what the linearly plot would be, and it does. It follows sort of from like 10:30 to broadcast or 10 to broadcast. So it's not real time. It's a movie, but
awesome.
there's little time codes, tick, 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 and there's like a constant like tick, 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 ticking that's going through, and
that's kind of
and
cool.
He just he knows it's Ivan Reitman's kid, man. He just grew up in movies, and I think Jason Reitman is a great director in his own.
He's very good director.
I mean, he has a great relationship, obviously, with Aykroyd and Bill Murray, and I'm sure I know he consulted with them, with Dan Aykroyd specifically on the set, the building of it, the pacing. It's nonstop. I mean, this movie is like bop, 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 so it flies by, and the characters are fantastic. The actors are great. Nobody's doing an impression. These are like fully living in, and everybody, from the guy that's playing George Carlin to.
It's set in the most iconic period of SNL.
Well, it's the first ever episode as well, and just it's really fun. I recommend it, and it just the phoneticness of it. It moves really fast, so I really enjoyed that. I have only a couple more. Another one that I really liked. It's What's Inside is what it's called, and it was a Netflix movie. It was recommended to me from my documentary film friend Colin. And he was watching it in Halloween, and he was like, "Oh, have you seen this movie? It's What's Inside. Can you actually?" And I feel like a turkey, but can you pull up who the director is? It's very low budget, sort of single location, but it's so creative and stylized and shot beautifully. And the gimmick of the movie, it's really well done.
Greg Jardine.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Greg.
That's the director.
It's
writer,
great, and it's the first time in a long time that I watched this, and I was like, "This is kind of unique. This is a unique movie.
Is this... Let me just make sure this is the right film, because it could be something else. Is this about a group of friends that gather for a pre-wedding party?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So and they come together. I mean, it's just one of these things that it looks great. It's very neon drenched. The cinematography is great. The acting is great.
Cool.
And the gimmick of the movie is done really well. And I did feel like, everything's been made before, but I really felt watching this, this is different. This is unique. And I really appreciated that. That's all I'll really say about it. I really enjoyed it. Smile 2, loved it. Love Parker Finn. Loved the first one. This one was amped up. We already talked about it. It's on your list. Love it. Ghostbusters 2, Frozen Empire. Not the greatest movie, but I am a huge Ghostbuster fan.
I really enjoyed it,
and any opportunity that I can see a Ghostbusters movie in the theater now, because obviously I was way too young to see the first 2, is such a treat. I go with my mom, and, she was the one who was buying me the toys in the late 80s, and now we can share that. And there was a lot of fun, and it has some like genuine scares in this one, and so I enjoyed that.
The opening, I love the opening with the old fire crew in New York. It's
and
amazing.
just, I love to see all the gang, and I'm just a big fan of Ghostbusters. And then my last one, which I had in my top of the year, but I hadn't seen the movie, and so I swapped it with Love Lies Bleeding because it is incredible. And it's Sean Baker's Honora.
Vic wants to see that. That's just come out.
Yeah. So I love his movies. Tangerine, Florida Project. Like and his documentary work. He's an incredible director.
Was Tangerine shot on an iPhone?
Well, with a rig, but yes, it was shot on a iPhone 5S.
Oh, he's mega talented.
Super talented.
Wow.
And now, again, I'm a complete hypocrite. I'm a human. I'm flawed. So I acknowledge it all. So I haven't seen this movie, but I read a lot about it. And when talking with my good friend and collaborator, Daniel, about it, he told me everything. And it was not only, and I trust Daniel. We were very similar when it comes to movies. He also has a movie review podcast that he has run for years. So that's like his thing. And it is getting all the Oscar buzz. It is doing all the things as well, very much like The Substance. And everything, again, I haven't even seen this movie, so who am I to even talk about it? But, I will watch it, and I know I will love it. How he centralizes characters around sex workers and prostitutes. It's just an incredible feat, and the life he brings in and the comedy that he brings in. It's, if you haven't seen it, see it. If you're interested to see it, watch it. Mikey Madsen, she's, a tour de force.
What's going to be, she's great. And I think the first thing I noticed her in was the first of the newer Scream films. No, the first of the newer Scream films, and she was one of the smaller characters. She was excellent. And maybe we can circle back to films that have come out towards the end of the year we've not seen, because there's so many films in the year. It's so difficult to pick any films. So we tried our best to whittle it down. And I think it's New Year's Day, so technically we've not missed it as Nosferatu. So
that's true. I haven't seen that yet. There is still some movies to come out. I know. It's
I meant to see Conclave this week, but it'll have to be next week. That looks like my cup of tea, so I really want to see that. And John Lithgow, John Lithgow's in it. It's about choosing the new pope, and it looks like a bit of a thriller. And I love John Lithgow. I just watched Blowout recently, and John, if anyone that knows John Lithgow is listening to this, we'd love to have him on the podcast because he is a true icon, and his new film. And I want to mention this because I know we're kind of going slightly off topic because we talked about the films. It is called. Let me find this now, because otherwise
Harry and the Hendersons.
No, that was too. That was my first. That was my first.
Of course, I think for all of us our age, that was the first time I really remember.
Before we go, there's one little film I want to mention because I really want to reach out. I'm trying to reach out to the director because I think it's coming out on Shudder, and I can't believe it's not going to. I don't know if it's going to get released. It's called The Rule of Jenny Penn, and Stephen King's just mentioned it on social media. Whether you love him or hate Stephen King, I didn't know anything about this film. Trailer's just come out. It's about a judge who has an accident and he's wheelchair bound. He's played by Jeffrey Rush and he has to go to an old people's home. And the old people's home is terrorized by someone that we think might have dementia, and he has a glove puppet he terrorizes the other elderly people with, and he's played by John Lithgow.
Wow.
And it's called The Rule of Jenny Penn, and it looks incredible. So
sold.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. So yeah, cheers, Ian. This has been great. So we'll pick it up in a week or a couple of weeks, whatever time it is, and we'll tend to release these. I think probably on Mondays, because Monday's a good week to listen to podcasts, whether you're finishing up on the loo or on the bus or the train or whatever it is. I'm just trying to help anyone that's listening that's on the toilet right now, whether they're watching us and you're half naked or whatever. So
finish up and get off the toilet.
Sure
that's not
properly.
good for your digestion or your lower body parts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you don't want to. Yeah, anyway, that's for another show. But yeah, cheers, Ian.
Thank you so much.
We've got a little bit of music to play us out.
Oh, amazing!
We'll see you all soon.
Great.
Bye bye.